G'day church, thank you for tuning in again to Faith Facts with Jono. We're up to episode 7 already. I'm really enjoying this, and thank you so much for those people that have given me feedback as to how you're finding this episode or each of the episodes. I really appreciate that feedback, so thank you very much, and may God continue to bless each of us with these episodes. Well, this week I found myself listening to music in preparation for school chapel services, and some of the words of some of these songs really spoke to me, and so I would like to share one of these songs with you. So after the break, we'll come in and we'll have a look at one of these songs, and I'd like to take you to the Bible and to how this impacts our faith. Well, thanks for tuning in. So the song that really spoke to me as I very first listened to it really resonated with me, was a song called Even If. It's a song by the band Mercy Me. And I'd like to share with you some of the words and how that has driven me to the Bible, and how I think that applies to us as we think about our faith, as we think about who God is and where we sit with God. So here are some of the words from the song. It's the chorus: I know you're able, and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. There's a bridge there where it says, I know the sorrow and I know the hurt. It would all go away if you just say the word, but even if you don't, my hope is you alone. And as I heard those words, the picture that came to my mind, just instantly came there, was Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. That was the picture that came straight to my mind, and as it turns out, that's where the writer was getting his inspiration from. So I'd like to take you to the book of Daniel. As I said last week, let's dig into the Old Testament. Let's discover more about who we are, who God is. And so we're going to look in the Old Testament at the book of Daniel. Okay, and in the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar has created for himself a statue. It's a statue of gold, roughly 30 meters tall and 3 meters wide. So you can imagine, as if you've ever been to the coast and you've seen a lighthouse, something of that size. And the idea was that when the music played, when the band started playing, you bowed down and you worshipped. Well, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, they weren't having a bar of this because they were followers of the one true God. And so they refused to bow down. And some people noticed this and they wanted to make trouble, and so they told the king. And the king comes to them and he says, I've told you, you must, when the music plays, you must bow down to this statue. If you do that, all these problems will go away. But if you don't, what's awaiting you is a fiery furnace. And this is their response. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego replied to the king, Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to give you an answer to this question. If the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he can rescue us from the power of you, the king. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you as king to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up. They knew that God did not have to step in. He did not have to save them from the plight of the fiery furnace. But their hope was in him. They knew that he could save them. He has all the power in the world. They had no doubt about that. But they say to Nebuchadnezzar, even if God does not intervene, we will not bow down. Our faith is in him and in him alone. And that's what I think is really remarkable and is true faith. Their faith was not in God because he could save them, because they wanted him to save them, because that's what you do, is you pray fervently and God must step in because you've prayed, you've asked. But their faith was in the God who could, has all the power to do so, but it wasn't dependent on God stepping in. Because they say to the king, even if he doesn't, our faith is in him. We won't bow down to any false gods. And I think that is the lesson that really hits home for me. Is my faith in God because he's going to do things for me? Is my faith in God based on God answering my prayers? Or is my faith in God based on him being the God, the true God, the living God, the one who has all the power, the one who has created all that we see, the one who is maintaining all that we see? Is that where my faith is? The God who deserves my full adoration of him, my praise, my honour of him. Is that the way my faith is structured? That I will focus on him and worship him alone, not because of what I can get out of it, but because that's what he deserves. He is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and I should honour him. And so as I hear that song, and as I look at his word, I realise that my faith has got to be based on God and God alone. Not what he can do for me, but who he is. That's not to say that I don't have faith that God can do whatever. God can move mountains. He can move the world around. He can transform anything and everything. He can change my life. He can intervene in all of the aspects of my life. But that doesn't mean that that's why I love him. It doesn't mean that I have to expect that he will jump in at a moment's notice. I need to focus on him and know that he can do it, but know that he may choose not to, because his plans are so much greater than my plans. His understanding is so much wiser than my best day. My most brilliant thoughts are nothing compared to him. And so I don't see what he sees. And so he may choose not to answer my prayers the way I want him to. But even if he doesn't, he is the one in whom I hope. And so I think that what we need to do is we need to look at the Lord Jesus, who prayed fervently that God would intervene in the circumstances that he was going through on Mount Gethsemane. Before he went to the cross, he knew what was coming, and he said, "Take this cup away from me." But then he says, "But not my will, but yours." And if Jesus can humble himself to say that to the Father, then that's what we should do. We should believe that he can do it. Know without a shadow of a doubt that he has the power, he has the ability, but realize that whether he does or not is not in our court, but it's in his court. And so that's what I would like to challenge us to think about, is how do I put my faith in God? Do I say, I will trust you because, or do I say, I will trust you and honour you and worship you? So that's my thoughts for this week. And I hope that does encourage you in your faith. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Faith Facts with Jono.